You may be seated. Hey, Shabbat Shalom. So Nechama Leibovitz was one of the most beloved teachers of Torah of the 20th century. Excuse me. She was beloved in Israel, beloved around the world. Her works are still studied on a regular basis. Truly beloved. Her brother was not. Yeshaya Leibovitz. Yeshaya Leibovitz was a great physicist and chemist, and also an incredible teacher of Torah in Israel. He had a weekly radio show. Absolutely brilliant person himself. And he was awarded the Israel Prize, which is one of the highest prizes you can earn there. And it was rescinded for the following reason. Yeshaya Leibovitz said that there is no such thing as a holy land. He's living in Israel, spent his entire life there. He said there's no such thing as a holy land, and stopped calling it the Holy Land. And people got very angry, and they took the prize away. But he was right. Land itself is not holy. Because if land was holy, and if you were on it and you were a stinker, you'd go psst and disappear. And if you were a great person, everything would just be wonderful. Leibovitz said that the land isn't holy. And if you look at the name, what we call, when we translate the Holy Land, we call it Eretz HaKodesh. It is not a land that is holy. It is a land that demands holiness be done on it. It demands that people behave in a way that is holy, in a way that is good, in a way that is uplifting. Land is land. But if you were to look at a map of the boundaries here and the boundaries there, it's the same land. There's no difference. It's what we do on the land, what we do with the land, that brings holiness to it. Because otherwise, everyone who's ever lived there throughout history should have been the most holy people, but they're not. The land isn't holy. It is the land that demands holiness to be done. And the land belongs not to people just because they have some sort of right of inheritance. The land only belongs to people who do holiness on it. And this is in the Torah portion today. It says, Ki ani Adonai hama'aleh etcha me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim v'hitem kadoshim ki kadosh ani. When God takes the people out of Egypt, they had been enslaved, but none of them were Jews. The people who come out and commit themselves to a lives of living holiness become the Jewish people. And the word here is, God is saying, I will elevate you from Egypt, and you will be holy because I am holy. In fact, Ibn Ezra, a commentator, says that God is only holy when we are holy. That God depends on our actions. God depends on our acting the right way. Otherwise, God is not on earth. And the word holiness in Hebrew is, you probably know, kadosh. It's actually an old agricultural word, and it means to separate out what is worthwhile from what is worthless. It was originally separating out the wheat and the chaff. It's to spend time doing what actually matters and not wasting our time, doing the right thing even when it's really difficult, even when you don't feel like doing it. And that's why we have so many reminders during the week that sound like Kadosh. Lexi's going to lead us soon in Kiddush, the blessing over the wine or grape juice. Kiddush means we separate out the 6 days of the week from Shabbat. We separate out the days where we have to take care of maybe just the mundane things we don't necessarily want to deal with, being with people we don't necessarily want to be with. Shabbat is about spending our very valuable time with the ones we say that we love the most. One of the prayers that we have is Kedusha, and you'll see people lifting up 3 times during this prayer. You'll see it during Musaf. Chazan Gross will be leading us, I was going to say soon, but relatively soon. I haven't heard the sermon either, I'm going to be honest. To elevate ourselves, to remind ourselves of our higher and better nature. And even Kaddish, where we say the prayer when someone has passed away, Kaddish is a reminder to focus on what actually matters in our lives, to not waste time on all the stupid things, all the worthless, all the hateful things. To live a life of holiness is not magic. To live a life of holiness means that you spend your time trying to be helpful the best you can, to take care of yourself the best you can, even to defend yourself the best you can without becoming hateful. When we become as hateful as the people who hate us, then they've won. And it's hard. It has been very difficult the last 6 months not to be filled with hate. But when you're filled with hate, it means there's no room for compassion. There's no room for love. There's no room for growth. There's no room for possibility. There's no room for joy. I will not let our enemies take that away from us too. This has been painful in so many ways. But it would be even worse if we forgot who we are. We came out of Egypt to do something differently. God didn't say, okay, now I want you to destroy Egypt and constantly remember how much you hate them. God said, I am raising you up out of that. You will be above that level of hate and oppression, and you will go into the land and you will create something different. You're not going into a holy land. You are going into a land that will be holy because of what you are doing. We came out of Egypt so we could elevate ourselves, so we could elevate others. We had been beaten down and enslaved for centuries, and that people is the one who had the capacity to bring redemption to the world. No matter how down we feel, and I know a lot of people, you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is doom scroll, and your whole body collapses. And you can feel yourself shrinking, and you can feel yourself becoming smaller. But what God says, that's not what we're here for. We're here to make ourselves great. Not better than others, but to bring greatness into the world, to elevate ourselves, to lift ourselves up. That's who we are. So no matter how down we are about things that are happening in the world, we should never forget our ancestors, never forget where we came from, never forget God's faith in us, never forget that we can still elevate all the souls of this world. And even if there is not a holy land, we can fill this entire world with holiness. Shabbat Shalom.